أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Alhamdulillah, after such an uplifting dhikr, I'm going to probably totally depress you guys now because of the topic that I'm going to be talking about. So, just briefly, if you can just put up your hands if anybody here has lost a parent, grandparent, brother, sister, friend. Most of us here have probably lost someone that we've loved. It's common, isn't it? And if there's anything that we're guaranteed, if we're going to live, we're going to 100% guarantee that we will lose someone that we love. So it's common. It's a common occurrence, and it's guaranteed that we're going to, we're going to die, and if we live long enough, we're going to experience the loss of many loved ones. And obviously, many of you probably know that I lost my mom about 7 months ago. And before this, I thought I understood what grief was and what loss was. But it's only when you actually go through it that you really understand what it is. And I was having a conversation with my sister. We were having this conversation when we were in the intensive care unit. We were obviously having lots of time to reflect. And she was saying how in Pakistan, she would see all the elderly women. And she was having this conversation with her husband saying, you know what, these elderly women, they look so miserable. Why are they miserable when they should be so grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them with such a long life? And it was only when we were going through what we were going through, she said that how arrogant of me to even say something like that. Those people who've lived for such a long time have seen so many deaths, so many people that they have loved. They've lost them, haven't they? They've lost their parents, brothers, sisters, friends, cousins, children. And so yes, they do carry a lot of grief with them. And so she said, what an ignorant comment that I made there. You know, it's only through our kind of loss, through our grief, that it's kind of made us a lot more humble. We've got a lot more humility in us towards those that have lost and that are grieving. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this topic is that over these last 7 months, I've had the opportunity, one, to learn from experience, and secondly, to reflect and also, you know, try to understand what grief is. It's so common. You know, we're all losing someone. We're always hearing of someone who's passed away, and you know, what do we tend to do? We tend to want to go in and rescue that person, like we really have to save them. The ones that are left behind, we want to save them. We want to do something. We want to make things better for them. And through my own experience, I know I have done it. I have done it many times where I felt like I need to go and rescue this person. I need to say something. I need to do something to make it all okay. And it's only now through what I'm going through, and you know, a friend of mine, and this is probably why the reason why I'm starting this reminder, because a friend of mine was doing exactly the same thing with me, bless her. And instead of actually helping me, it wasn't helping me, because I didn't want to be rescued, and I didn't want to be told I need therapy, because I was grieving, and I was grieving in my own way. And the best of intentions, and I know, and I understood, because that's something I would have done at one time. Even though we say we understand, we don't understand. I've lost a mother, yeah, but someone else who's lost a mother, I can't say I understand what your grief is like, because I don't know what that relationship was like, what your relationship is like with the person that you've lost. I can only understand my grief. I can't understand anybody else's grief. Yes, I can have a bit more better understanding, and I can have greater empathy, but I don't understand. Okay, so grief is a process, and just a quote by Rumi, that where the wound is, that's where the light enters you. So that's a wound, isn't it? We're going through a traumatic experience, and it's a wound, it hurts us. But in that process, rather than trying to rush it along, yeah, rather than saying, I need to get over it, you can't get over it. You can't get over grief. You can't get over the loss of a loved one. what we can do is we can move forward with it. We can make it a part of who we are. It's an uncomfortable part of us. It's not something that we like, yeah? But it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable part of us. It's getting comfortable with that grief and saying, you know what, I acknowledge you here. And I acknowledge that I'm going to have to live with you for the rest of my life. It's not about getting over it. It's about moving forward with it. And, you know, you'll all have, everyone deals with grief differently. You know, some of us go into shock. Some of us go into denial. Some of us slowly will come out of that shock, and it will happen in your own time. And it's not our job to try and rush it along. You know, like with my mum when she passed away, like I did probably have some kind of shock because I didn't cry, but that was my way of dealing with it. And a lot of people were like, we need to make her cry, we need her to break down. But that was my way of dealing with it, and that was my way of processing it, and that was, I needed to do it like that. Not that I was consciously doing it, but that was the way that my body needed to deal with it, because I was so overwhelmed by the experience. It was only after a few months, especially in Ramadan, when that grief was coming out and I was processing it, but I didn't need anybody to come in and save me. I just needed to process it through my own personal way, however I did it. Okay, so there's a process that we go through in grief, and it can take weeks, months, years, decades even, yeah? And it's fine. It's just our own healing process. And, you know, we all kind of deal with it in a different way. And I suppose through my kind of experience, you know, when we talk, we try to intellectualize the process of grief. Like we try to understand it intellectually, but I don't think you can intellectually understand grief. It's an experience that we're going through, and it's an emotional experience, so we can't intellectualize it. We can't make sense of it intellectually. It's just the way that you're going to emotionally process that experience. And over the last 7 months, there was times when I wanted to speak about this, but I was like, no, I'm not ready for it because I don't really understand it yet. I don't know what I'm going through, and I don't know how I feel about it. And I don't know if I'm just speaking from that place of, again, ignorance. You know, I want to give myself some time, and the time will be right when I can actually truly speak about it. And like now, obviously, over the last 7 months, just, I suppose, like I asked my sheikh, how can I benefit my mother now that she's no longer here? Because we want to, don't we? This person who was so physically present has now just gone, and you feel a bit like I'm lost, like what am I supposed to do now? I've served my parents, what am I supposed to do now that they're no longer here? And sheikh said, dua, sadqa jariyah, continuous sadqa jariyah, and beneficial knowledge. So for me, sadqa jariyah was one of the things that was close to my heart, and some of you probably know that I set up the foundation in my mom's name, but that's the way I dealt with it. That's not the way everybody deals with it, but that's the way that gave me comfort and gave me a proactive approach, a way that I could navigate and channel my grief in that way. And we will all do it differently. Some of us might turn to dua. Some of us might want to be just isolated away from people. Some of us might want to interact with lots of people. You know, even being together with the people, my mom's friends, is a form of therapy for me. When we just literally just talk about mom and what mom would do and those kind of things, that's therapy for me. I post, I write, because you know some of you, I write. I use writing as a way of channeling my grief, expressing my emotions, yeah? Doesn't mean when you see a post that I need some therapy and I'm depressed or whatever, you need to save me. That is me having my personal therapy, you know? And we all do that in different ways, and all we need to do is not go in and try and save somebody. Just give them the space, be around them and give them that space. Like they used to say, hold the space for someone, and I didn't understand what that meant. Simply just be around that person so that they know that you're just the space, and they can talk and they can repeat that story over and over again, and you're there. They don't need any advice. They don't need a different perspective. They just need somebody who can just listen to them without feeling, I have to do something about this. Maybe I need to direct them towards some therapy or some help or anything like that. So And I know it's something that we all go through, and it's a really uncomfortable topic in our community. It's because it's uncomfortable, we feel like I have to make it better or I have to make it comfortable. But it's fine. Just be that space and just know that, sometimes when we actually go in to try and salvage or try and help someone, they actually will end up putting walls up and they won't want to speak to you. So in fact, it's actually counterproductive in what we're trying to do when we just try and over-help someone when they're not ready for that help. So again, it's just a reminder for all of us here have lost someone. We're all healing and we're all grieving and we're all going through our process, and just being there and just providing a space for each other and hearing the story 100 times if it needs to be, and allowing that person to kind of process their own grief in their own time. Because ultimately we want to navigate through this life in a wholesome way, and death or grief is part of that journey. And we don't want it to take us down a downward spiral. We want to be able to live with that and channel that grief in a positive way. So inshallah, I hope that you've benefited from this. Any benefit is purely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm so glad that I actually was able to deliver this message without breaking down. So any benefit, like I said, is purely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.